What's good, YouTube? Many of you may be aware that yesterday I did a collab video on the Crow's Nest YouTube channel where me and my teammates basically made this tier list evaluating the relative power of a bunch of decks in the Edison format meta. But of course, we ran into a slight problem, which is that my teammates are a bunch of idiots who aren't as smart as me and don't understand the format like I do, and they just don't get it, and they made a ton of really terrible mistakes, which we are now going to have to go through and fix every one of. So that's what this video is going to be about. I think the best way to approach this is to just start from the top and go on through evaluating every deck. So I agree with Diva Zombie as the highest ranked S tier deck. I think this deck's really broken. I think this deck's just amazing at everything and really scary in every way. So yeah. The Order of the Blackwing decks are also something that I agree with. I think there's really nothing lost by playing hybrid. You basically just get to play both decks and have all of the benefits of both in one deck. I think Value's slightly better than like 2010 Blackwings, but 2010 Blackwings are still kind of ridiculous because the archetype is overpowered and poorly designed and under-nerfed in the Edison format ban list, so yeah. So far, so good, I think, on these first four. Dragon Turbo, I put this down at the top of A. The reason for this is because, well, the first thing I mentioned was variance. The difference between the floor and the ceiling is really huge. Even if the deck is something like 70% consistent, just having those games where you see these horrible bricks is something I really don't like, especially given the fact that the way events are structured, like one brick like this can just ruin your run, so... that being said, the deck is really powerful. The thing that really stops it from being S tier, in my opinion, is versatility. It's basically a one-dimensional combo strategy where you're either, you're doing your play where you draw your whole deck, and then you get your perfect hand, or you're not doing that, and you probably lose. And I just think all these decks in S tier, they're good at everything, right? They're at least solid at, like, everything. And in a format as diverse as Edison, I think that's really important. Like, I would rather have a deck that can do, like, 2 things at a 6 out of 10 than 1 thing at a 9 out of 10. I think versatility is the single most important attribute for me when I'm ranking these decks on the tier list. So, as powerful as Dragon Turbo is, I just don't think I could put it in S tier unless it was, like, format-ruiningly overpowered. And as much as people like to meme about, oh, this deck's ruining the format, that deck's ruining the format, it just has not happened yet. So maybe I'm wrong for evaluating it this way, but I put it top of A tier. Lightsworn's not an S for a similar reason, just variance. Like, the ceiling is unbeatable, but the bricks are also really bad. Diva Hero, I put this in S. I put this above the Blackwing decks. I view this as just a very slightly worse version of the Zombie Diva deck. I think the playstyles are very similar. The card choices are very similar. I think it's just really, really strong. Does everything again, and Ab-Zero is just one of the strongest boss monsters. Can OTK like crazy. I think this is one of the best decks of the format for sure. I'm kind of fine with the placement of these. The Hero Frogs and the Hero Beat. I think Fairies is a little higher. I'm like higher on Fairies than like anyone besides Keegan or something. I think this deck's really strong. It is hurt by like the blowout side cards, so I'll put it below Lightsworn Dragon Turbo. But I think if you're a good Fairy player, you can do really well with this deck. It does punish misplays really hard though, so that's a thing to consider. Fire Zombies, I'm fine with that being A tier. Kuraz needs to be A tier. I think this deck's way too good to be B tier. This is probably my strongest deck. It's just, like, insanely versatile. Does everything. It's, like, just got great combination of aggression and, like, grind game that a lot of decks do not have. And I think this deck's really, really strong. I felt like this is probably my most powerful deck. This is the deck I grinded to puzzle with back when I was doing that, and then I lost ELO playing Frost and Flame Dragon, but, I think this is my strongest deck, so I'm putting it in A. I think it's definitively above all of these. Quick draw, top of B. I think this makes sense. This deck's pretty strong, but not quite A tier strong. I think I'm fine with the placement of Diva Frogs and Sabers. Amaryllis is a little questionable. I might drop it to C. It's like, I think there's some optimal build of this out there. It's definitely the strongest, like, pure plant strategy either way. But just no one has found the right build, I think. I think if someone found the right build, this deck would be maybe even higher in B. I think this deck has a lot of potential for sure, but I'm just not sure with the builds that exist right now out there. Cat and Flambeau are probably fine here. So I think B tier we basically got right, if you can believe it. So this quick draw deck, yeah, it's top of C's maybe okay. Here's the most glaring flaw on the entire list, by the way. With Dark Gaia way down here, this is rank number 1. This is the best deck of the format. I don't think anyone would dispute it. Just insanely strong. Nothing comes close. So yeah, Dragons and Gadgets probably fine for C tier though. GBs, we need to make a new tier for. Oh, what did I just do? I swapped these around. Okay, we need a new tier. We need to add row below pre. Let's see, did that work? What on earth happened here? This should be C. Swap them. No. Oh, this is a disaster. Okay, come back. There we go. So put that there, that there, that there. GBs can go in pre. This deck is just like built to counter a small portion of the meta at the expense of its matchup against a large portion of the meta. I think this deck has like the worst conversion rate in tournaments of probably any deck in the format. I think it's pretty garbage. You can like cheese wins off of the decks that you hard counter, but that's about it. Gravekeepers belongs in pre. I think it's better than GBs though. This deck's probably fine in D tier, right? I don't know. Ancient Gears kind of sucks, I think. It's like the worst machine deck. It's like nowhere near KFC. It's strictly worse. And Gadgets can also play like Machinas and go plus and stuff a lot more. So I think Ancient Gears is just worse. It just loses to so much too. Like it cannot out like Duplock, Spirit Reaper. It's one of those decks. Loses hard to Cyber Dragon. There's just so much that blows this out. Coelacanth. Oh, I think we had on our tier list we had Chainburn better than Coelacanth, but I think Coelacanth's better. I think Fish is probably better than Chainburn. Maybe Frog Slicer would dispute it. I don't know. They're both terrible though. They both just like lose to so much again. They're just so like one-dimensional and bad at what they do. It's like kind of like Dragon Turbo. If Dragon Turbo took like 4 turns to, on average, 4 turns in a good situation to win. So yeah, just having to wait around and losing to so many cards is just terrible. And then Zombie Skill Drain goes in pre. It's like the worst one in pre though. This deck main deck's like Zombie World and Skill Drain though. It's guaranteed a pre deck. It's it's good for nothing besides just being an anti-meta choice. So, and I think anti-meta choices are very weak in Edison, given how diverse the format is. So yeah. I think with that, we definitively have our, for real this time, guys, absolutely 100% correct, flawless Edison format tier list.